Okay, looks like we're up. I'll go ahead and turn the bot on if anybody wants to come in here and play the games. Again, no. Hi, Chew. Again, no. You can play the games, but no bounties or nothing. We'll be doing that Saturday night again. We'll start here on building diffs today. That's where we're attempting to get done. I'd like, if in a couple hours, hopefully I can get the diffs built, maybe get the rear ends put together so I can get the arms to stay in place. Need to get the blocks, need the gearboxes in there, and then the rear blocks, front blocks, so the arms will stay in place. I took them loose last night, and so I don't lose stuff. So let's get these diffs, this bag open for the diffs. Kind of go through what I'm doing. Hey, Chris. Anybody that's built diffs is kind of self-explanatory, but I know my two guys there probably have never seen how our differentials are built. A lot of little parts. I'll put them out here in my little holders. Now that does sound metallic. Okay, I was kind of worried. I thought these might be plastic, but those are metal, thank goodness. Gotta build front and rear diffs. If I had a dirt car, I'd have to build a center diff also, but carpet cars use a slipper, and these new cars, they come out with them in the end of the 74 series, what they call a decoupled slipper. I don't want to cut them gaskets. Here, let's get a good pair of scissors. These are a pair of Lexan plastic cutting scissors, so they aren't really made for cutting. Scissors there that cut our bodies out. A lot of little parts. First thing we'll do, see those little O-rings. And this is a trick that I learned from 8-scale, building 8-scale diffs. They don't show it in the instruction manual, but the area where the little O-rings that seal these diffs up so they don't leak, I packed the area with black grease. And then when I go to stick the outdrives in too, I do the same thing. Put grease on the outdrives, which helps stop these from leaking, for one. And two, when you put the outdrive through that little silicone O-ring, it doesn't damage the O-ring. So I always coat them good with grease, pack that area where the O-ring is with grease, and it helps seal the diff up. Normally what I do, I'll put my finger down in there as I shove that through, and that way the grease doesn't just end up in the cup where the oil goes in. Okay. And all the washers must be right there. Yeah, there they are. That's what I was looking for, is those shim looking ones. Should be 4 of them. Hopefully they're all stuck together there. C3 anyway. Yep, there's all 4 of them. And that's a little, I probably need to get my hemostats out here to help get these down into place, because, well, I got that one. A little metal shim that the gear in here will ride on. Need to get yeah, this is where I need my needle nose would work, but I use hemostats. Put these pins in. I should have looked, see where the hole, okay, they line up with the outdrive slot, and you have to get them centered between the screw. It isn't wanting to grab it. There it goes. I got one here that's not the one I want. Hi, Richard. Hi, Michael. Yeah, I'm just doing a little more work on my new car. Probably on here for a couple hours, like I was telling when I started. I want to get these discs built, and then get the gearbox case in place so I can get the rear mounts and the arms. They kind of do it, I don't know if I'd say ass backwards, but no reason to put them arms together till you're ready to put the gearbox case in there. But That's the way they do it. Okay, now I'm ready for the sun gear. It goes in there. Sits down in there like that. Now the diffs. They're the actual spider gears. Got a couple little washers to put on the back side of these. Oh, 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 oh. Did I lose my little washer? Yep. That's one thing I gotta make sure. Don't lose nothing as you're putting it together. Oh. Tried, but I got it down in there. And these are slotted, so they'll actually set flat. A lot of little parts, especially with these four-wheel drives, Richard. A lot of little parts. That's something I don't. There must have been a little piece of metal in that bag. And I gotta get that flipped over. I got it clear flipped over or not? I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I did there. There's your spider gears in there. Next I need to put the ring gear side together. Basically the same thing, pack that O-ring area full of grease. Like I say, they don't show it in the manual, but you ever put an 8 scale one of these together, something that I've learned years ago, pack the O-ring area with grease, helps stop the diff from leaking, and then it don't, these little silicone O-rings can get nicked pretty easily. So you can take the out drive and do the same thing. Put a little grease on it. And like I say, I did on the other one, I put my finger on the inside, so then it'll kind of force that grease in around that O-ring. And I probably ought to start getting some diff oil. I'll have time when I start working on the second one. After I get this together, I'll start filling this with grease. 74, they had weights. You could actually fill them by weight, so you knew you had the right amount of diff oil in them, but they went away from it on this 84. I guess a person could weigh it once you get it full. Oh, about screwed up. Tried to screw up. Got the little shim. Goes down in there. Sun gear rides on that shim. They had trouble with the 6 series 2-wheel, well, 4-wheel too, 64. They made those shims bigger in diameter, and what was happening as they wore, the ring around the outside where the sun gear rode, it'd start to warp that shim till it would bind up the sun gear. So they started making them smaller than what rides on them. Now you don't have that issue anymore. Another thing I do, they don't show in the manual, but when you go to, I don't know what I did, no, there's the gaskets. I'll go ahead and put the gasket in place. Is use black grease on where that gasket sits. And that'll kind of help fill. For one thing, it holds it in place. When you go to put the screws through it. And another thing, it kind of helps that gasket seal. So I'll just put in a little bit of grease in between the holes. And then I'll take my little screwdriver and spread it around. But that grease kind of helps seal that gasket up. Anything you do to make your diffs not leak as much. That's the one thing. The way I build these, my old 74 car, I could run these things forever and not have the diffs leak. Hi MSS. Just doing a car build. Building diffs today. Trying to get to the point to where I can get at least the bottom gearbox case for these in place, and then be able to put the rear arm mounts in place so the arms are in without, so I'm not losing stuff. They say they kind of did these should have been building these before putting the arm pieces in place, but that's how they showed in the books, so I'm following the manual. With my own little tricks. And actually they give you the oil for a book setup. And this is something you can change. A little different. These things, the slipper clutch, they came out with it in the 74.2. They got what they call, a dirt car would have a center differential besides front and rears. That's what we're building right now. But carpet cars, you run a slipper clutch in place of a center diff. In the .2s, they come out with what they call a decoupled slipper, which basically lets the front wheels and rear wheels drive independently, or actually under braking or otherwise, it allows them to turn independently, the front and rear ends, which is something we'll be dealing with. But before, you normally had the same diff oil in front and rear. Well, with this setup, use a lot lighter oil in the front diff, and a heavier oil in the rear diff. But yeah, it basically lets the car, the front wheels, be independent during cornering. Or while the car is slowing down. They got what they call a one-way bearing in that decoupled slipper. Yeah, it's trial and error. You've done things enough one way and realize it's not ideally. Like I say, what I'm doing with the black grease, that's something I learned from 8 scale to help seal these diffs. And you don't fill these full. That's why I like the old 74. They actually had weights. You could fill it by weight, and you knew you had the right amount of oil in it, and you didn't have to wait for it to settle. But you basically want to fill this thing where about half the spider gears are covered with grease or oil. They call it oil, but it's pretty thick. So you got to let these sit for a while to fill all the crevices. In there, and then refill them. And that way, when we had the weights, you could just dump the oil in there till it was full, and you knew you had the right amount of oil in them. But they didn't. This 84, they went away from that again. So I don't know why. So you got to do it the old way. Sit there and let the oil settle. Okay, ready for rear diff. So fill these with grease. Not something that's shown in the manual, but it's what I do. Helps the O-ring seal the diff. And it keeps from nicking these little soft silicone O-rings when you go to shove the outdrive through. Couple things. I probably won't get to run this for a little bit. There's a few things I'm going to have to get yet. For one thing, on carpet, they require what they call a chassis protector. And basically what it does, it's underneath the chassis. It's well, you guys have seen the top of my microscope. That is a piece of that plastic, thick plastic or whatever, to keep from screws backing out and tearing the carpet. And I don't have that yet. And I'm probably going to have to, I got a motor I could put in it, but I think I'm going to buy a newer one. So that I don't have. I do got a speed control to put in it, and a receiver for the radio. But there'll be a few things I'll have to get yet. But if I get it put together, then it's just a matter of ordering the stuff in that I want. Okay, got that in place. Get that outdrive lined up so I can put the pin in. Sun gear. It's in place. Now time for the spider gears. That chunk of metal. Or plastic, it could have been plastic. And a person could, I've got a lot of them, but I've never used them. You can supposedly tune these by putting, there's another little tiny O-ring you could put on the end of these. Okay, am I one of them short, or did I stick two of them together in that other dip? I hope not. I'm one short. I have seen these stuck to these. No, it wouldn't be, because that was in a different bag. I may have to tear that other dip apart and pull the spider gears out, because I might have a doubled up washer on one of them. So I'm not, oh, there it is. There we go. They like to stick together. A little bit of oil on them, I suppose, to keep them from rusting. About screwed up. Come on, get in there. There it went. Okay, get this one in without losing a washer. And then I need to flip this with that slot down so they sit together like they're supposed to. I think it went right there. Yeah, it looks all right. And time for the ring gear. Do the same thing like I did the other side. A little grease. And here where the O-ring goes. Say I'll probably be in here for a couple hours. I do need to get something done outside today yet. Need to spray some weeds. Nice day here today, only about 70. Maybe a couple degrees over or under that. So, nice day to be doing something outside. But yeah, I guess you guys can't see it, there's actually a notch in this outdrive that sits about right there in the O-ring. That grease can fill that. Again, it helps seal it up. Put the shim in. Sun gear. Oh, no, no sun gear yet because I don't have the pin in there. There we go. And a little bit of grease to hold the gasket into place and help seal it. I've seen people, the B6 was terrible about it. They used a plastic cover on the two-wheel drives, or that's what the kit come with, and those things would warp. So it is kind of imperative to use this grease to help. I've seen some people even use silicone, a little bit of silicone to help the gasket seal. But they did make it what they called a factory team cover, which was aluminum. Those didn't warp, and this is actually a steel gear for a ring gear. Too hot here? Yeah, it's been hot here, and we finally got a break today, so got two days of it. A little break on the heat. But yeah, I did this live. Didn't want to have to deal with trying to record it. I know people will go back and kind of watch what you've done. Okay, that one's done. Matter of filling this one with the, and you want to see something that's thick. This is 100,000, and this stuff is like, see how thick that is. sitting there hanging off the end. So this stuff takes a while to get settled in. And they make up to a 500,000 diff oil, if you can call it oil, more like jello or putty almost. 100K isn't bad, but once you get above that, it gets pretty doggone thick. Okay, how's our other one doing? Yeah, it needs more oil in it. About up to the pins in there. You're catching up with Kane there, Chris. One thing about it, this one shouldn't take too long now because most of the crevices below the gears should be filled. They say it's much nicer when they give you weights for these. I have to, no guesswork. I guess I could go get my scale while I'm sitting here waiting. I'm guessing it's going to be pretty close. Like I say, you can't fill them to the top. And they kind of show you got to fill it up to where they're up about halfway on these spider gears. And that's about where we are right now. On that one. And then once I get these in, I'll have to make sure and I don't. Of course, I might be able to feel it, the difference between the thicker and the thinner oil. Okay, it has settled down just a little bit. I need to put a little bit more in there. Not much. That's probably about enough. Thing you overfill them, then you squeezes out and makes a big mess. You underfill them, then the dip don't work quite as good as it should. But I think that one is good now. Go ahead and slap the cover on it. Oh, trying to spill it. That's when I finally got a power wrench. Is building diffs for the 8 scale. These screws are tight. Since you're cutting threads in plastic, and then I get my knees. You want to make sure and tighten evenly. Like I say, you can warp these cases because they're plastic. Kind of do a crosshatch on it. Keep snugging them down until they feel like they're all tight. And we're getting there. That one's tight. Those two were. That one's tight. There we go. There's a belt diff. I want to make sure I know that's the front one. Okay. Oh goodness, yeah, that's going to need a lot more grease. Takes forever for this 100,000 to get down in there. fill all the little cracks and crevices around them gears. And just fill it up to where it's about even with the gears. Let it settle in. I think I'm done with my black grease for now. I may have to let it sit for a minute or two. I'll flip it over here to the manual. You can see how full it says to fill it, and it's about halfway up on those spider gears. But the next step will be, that's where I want to get today, is get that bottom piece of the gearbox case in place so I can put the A and D blocks on so the arms will be held in place. Probably could get those bags out and start getting pieces out. So we're just about done with the diffs. This is something they did different over this B84, and this, okay, the 0.1 74.1, anyway, the gearboxes, the way they opened on the 74, rather than being horizontal like this, they were vertical. And 0.1, they went to, I guess I should back it up a little bit. The 64, the model previous to the one I'm running, they had the shock towers mounted to that gearbox case. And the problem with that is you would snap the top of that gearbox off on occasion if you hit something hard. Wouldn't break the shock tower, but it'd break the gearbox, and you can see how hard it is. You basically have to take the whole front end apart, get that gearbox case out of there. Well, the 74, they went to an aluminum upright that held the gearbox in place and then held the shock tower also. And that was a much better setup, way better. Well, the 0.2, which I never owned because of this reason, they took the aluminum uprights out and went back to mounting the gearbox or the shock tower to the gearbox. It's like, you guys didn't learn from the first go around to not do that. Because, like I say, it's a half-hour job to, if you ever snap it off, or maybe more. Well, this box, the gearbox, is vertical, so the top part is separate and that's attached to the shock tower. Well, that is accessible with about 6 screws from the top. So if you ever break that top of that gearbox case, it's easily replaceable, which I can deal with that. I mean, replacing the top of the gearbox, no big deal. When you got to tear the whole gearbox out, that is a big deal. Something that's going to maybe make you miss a qualifier if you break it, or miss a main if you break it, because it's so long to fix. But yeah, this will be the next thing. I want to get that at least the bottom part of the gearbox case. That's the area right there where my marker is. That's where these differentials sit in there. It's right in that area. But anyway, yeah, I can get that gearbox case in, and then I can get the A and D blocks. D block is the rear end, and the arms then will be in place, and I won't lose parts. And I can set it aside because this will probably be the last live stream I do on it. But see, yeah, the arms, the way they are, they got little shims that hold the arms in place, or forward or backwards. Those can fall off. You can see fall off. So I took them back loose, or took them out of the arm mounts here. That's where it goes. I didn't get it up there in place, but I took them back out of there from the build earlier page, because I didn't want to lose those shims and everything. So if I can get that bottom part of the gearbox in place, then I can have everything, the arms in place, and won't be losing nothing, so I can put it somewhere and feel comfortable. Anyway, how are we getting along here? It's getting closer, but it's still not. It's up to the bottom of those spider gears. But yeah, you can you can change the length of your wheelbase by moving those shims front or rear, and then moving your arms forward or rear or backwards. You can do it on both the front and the rear, just depending. You want a long wheelbase for carpet. So you normally tend to move them, the front arms forward and the rear arms back, but the kit setup is neutral in the middle, so that's where we're going with it off the bat. Say I'll put the kit set on it, or set up, and we'll adjust from there depending on how it dries for me. And Associated's always been really good. Their book setups or kit setups are usually pretty neutral, fairly easy to drive, so I've always started with a kit setup, And actually my two-wheel drive buggy still has a kit set up on it. Completely nothing changed from the kit setup because it was so easy to drive. May not be as super fast, but easy to drive is good for me. Okay, I think we're good. I can see some bubbles in there yet, which I wish those would get out of there. Again, that really heavy oil is which they'd probably work their way out eventually. Well, I know they would. So I think I'll probably just slap it together. It does look just a little fuller than I needed it, but hopefully the air will displace a little bit of it. I didn't get that gasket quite lined. There it goes. Quite lined up. Thanks guys for coming in and watching. Possibly, Chris. Since I run both foam and rubber tires, depending on where I'm at and what sort of a race I'm at, I may resign my old car back to a foam tire car. It's pretty decent. I could make some setup changes to it, which would make it a little bit better for foam tires. The going back and forth, I kind of got a few things that I change. You use a little softer with setup with foam tires than you do with the rubber tires. So yeah, I may run both. It just depends. Depends how well this one drives right out of the get-go with both. But that is kind of the plan. I may use my older car for foam tires. I kind of know what I need to do to it to make it better. Better than it even is right now. There's a few things I'd like to change on it. Yeah, and honestly, since I've got multiple trucks, I do carry an extra truck with me to the track that I could use if one breaks. Even if the setup isn't quite perfect, at least you're in the race. So yes, I will definitely be carrying both cars with me for a while, especially since probably a lot of the replacement parts are not available for these yet or are sold out. May not be able to get some of the parts for this for a while to carry around with me. So, and not everybody carries them, the parts. So you got to carry extra parts with you. So yeah, I got parts for my old car, and yep, I'll be carrying both for a while. And like I said, probably the next 2 weekends till I get a few more things for this car and get it built. This car won't hit the track until I get a chassis protector for it. Everybody, well, of course, the main track where I go to in Muscatine, they require it. So, and I'm not even sure Associated is coming. I seen an ad today that actually one company's actually got them out, chassis protectors for these. So, nothing else, I can get one ordered from them. I haven't even looked yet to see if Associated's got them out yet or not. Okay, we're on to bag 4. Get the box out here. There's one of the bag 4s. Gearboxes. Another of the bag 4s. I think there should be one more. Yep. No, Chris, this is all for pride and bowling trophies. There are a few tracks that got what I call like hobby bucks if you get first or third or whatever, but no, we just basically race for trophies. Some of the big races but not so much for 10th scale, more for 8 scale. And oval will have money races, but that brings out the worst in people. I wish they wouldn't even do it. It isn't like you're sitting in the car and you're taking chances with your own health, and I mean, you can take somebody out pretty easily, and people will do that for money. So but one of these days, I guess I'll have to take a picture of all the trophies I won over the years. In fact, sitting here right here in front of me is I've got, I don't know what, like a curio cabinet full of trophies, or actually more plaques nowadays. But I've got so many sitting there that aren't set up and put somewhere that over the last 5 years. I don't have a place for them all. Okay. I think they start with the front one. Yeah, they do. So put that gearbox aside. We'll go ahead and open up this bag. See what all we got. I know there's some of this that I won't get into because I'm not going to completely put the gearboxes together. I just want to get the bottom of them in place. That's the diff height. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, they do the 0 through 3 on all of them. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Zero, 1, 2. I'm guessing 3 is the... Okay, yeah, I think I know what's going on there. On them. I need to get into... I'm not going to be putting the diffs or the CVAs, the drives, in yet. Going to need that for the A and D block. Bumpers. Must be a brace, rear brace. A little different. They've changed up how things... I know that's the front brace. Front top brace. And it must be the rear brace. Top brace. Okay. I'm not going to need those, not going to need those yet. I am going to need those. Need the screws. It just depends. Chris, normal club race is usually $20 to $25 for your first class, and then they usually will drop a little bit, you know, $5 for each additional, or on it, you know, it just depends what the track decides to charge. So where I race 3 classes, I think it's usually about $50, 45 or 50 for a club race. Trophy races can vary. That big J-Con race I was at about a month ago, I think the first class was $60. But then again, you did get a t-shirt for that. So it just depends. The Roar Regional that's coming up here in a week is fairly cheap. I think it's $35 for the first class. But the national they're going to have there at Muscatine here in a month or so is first class is $120. So ridiculous price. I'm not going to be racing at that. I am actually going to be one of the track officials. So yeah, that's just crazy. That they're charging that much, and it's not up to the track. That is, Roar is actually the sanctioning body for here in North America. That's who sets up the rules, and then they have a national event once a year for all the different classes. And then you can do, there's regionals too. Like the region I'm in is Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. It's region 8. Oh yeah, I did open that. Thank goodness I didn't. Sling everything all over the place. A couple of them. I think I'm looking good on the shims. Seeing some driveline parts there. And big set screws. I don't know where those go. I think, well, where I'm going this weekend is up to Webster City, just a points race. I think it's 45 for 3 classes. Don't need those. And these are a little bit different than, it's something for the gearboxes. Figure out which one of these is A block and which one is D block. .537. So that's the front, and that's the rear. I'll put one of these up with each one. I know that's like a top of the, yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely cheaper than if you go bigger scale, like go-karts or you know, whichever way you want to go. One thing I will say about off-road, and another thing I'll say, running stock or a spec class is actually more expensive than running a mod class where the bigger guys, they're the top dogs race. That's one reason I don't really care to race. I'm going to keep that bag. So I have to put the top of put that top cover of the gearbox back in there. But yeah, the stock games got kind of ridiculous, the amount of money you got to throw into it. I mean, you got to buy a new motor every 6 months to a year. You got to buy new batteries. I could go on and on. Stuff that you got to buy to run stock to be competitive. That's why I'd just soon run mod any day of the week. I mean, I can run 2-year-old batteries and be just fine. You don't need that brand new stuff so your batteries are only the best. And new motors. Shoot, my 2-wheel drive buggy has a motor in it that's, when it was new, is probably about 6 or 7 years ago, and I've been running it for 4 years now. So it's probably due to be replaced, but it's still just fine. Yeah, the silver's more of an investment. That's the way I look at that. This is the fun stuff. This is the relaxation, get away from it all thing for a day sort of stuff. Okay, that should be some more of them. Button head. Okay, that's a longer flathead. I'm guessing there should be at least one more there of them. Yep, these are all button heads, all the same length. And that'll do it. That'll be all the... I wonder where that one goes. That is a low profile button head. There's only one in there. Must go with the pivot. Anyway, looks like it's time to get the chassis back out here. Honestly, probably could go ahead and put these off to the side. What do I do with that bag? I'm not going to need those. I'm not going to need those. I think I'll need those. I'm not going to need those for today. And I'm not going to be putting the diffs in, so I'm not going to need those. Make room so I can get the chassis over here. Well, that's part of it, Chris. You build these so you know how to take them back apart. that's part of the idea of it, building them yourself. If you break something, you know how to fix it. Oh yeah, you can buy ready to run stuff, but then you break it, you got to figure out how to fix it. Okay. And you can see what, I'll flip it back over here to the, see what I'm getting ready to do here. Okay. Longer button. Only got one longer of the flatheads. Okay, it's those two, front and rear. I'm guessing, yep, that's all of them. Okay, go back. Put the arms back in place here. Like I said, that's, I took these apart because I knew these little spacers would fall off and the pins would fall out. I moved them around at all. Okay, the first thing to do is put the gearbox in there. I'm guessing that sits down in that. Oh yeah, it does. Well, there's not much clearance there. Must be a tight fit too. Definitely see where it's notched out for it to sit in there. There it goes. There it goes. And I think I'll try and get these A-block on there so it's kind of holding it all together. And I want a 1 out. Need 2 of these. For the A-block. Like I said last night, you can adjust the toe in with these blocks. Changes the angle of these pins. And you can make toe them in or toe them, or actually change the angle of the toe in of the arms. Anyway, we want a 1 out. That's what these little things, there's all different sizes or ones that you can put in here. I'm actually using a 1 out. You can see how that hole is off center in there. And like I say, you can go up, down, left, right. It'll be Saturday night, Chris. Probably at 7:30, I'm guessing. Yeah, it won't be a long race day where I'm going. Okay, why is that not looking in the right spot? That does not look right. Doesn't look like it's far enough forward. Oh, okay. So 4 holes. This is how they build these evidently now. Rather than this front pin brace being attached to the chassis, the gearbox is with 4 screws. Okay. And then that pin is attached with, or that front piece is attached with to the gearbox with screws that come in from the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and get these gearbox screws in. A little different setup on these with gearbox the way it's designed now. Before, that front A block was attached to the chassis. Now it is attached to the gearbox. With screws that come in from the bottom. supposed to go. Into this back hole. Hand tighten them. Still trying to lose that A block. Okay, now we put the bumper. If we'll like this bumper or not, well, I guess we'll find. That was something that was 74 was terrible. I hated the bumpers on them. Okay, those must go underneath. Okay, okay. They don't say anything about, and that goes into this, which I'm guessing sits down in there. They don't say anything about Loctite, which I don't believe in that. Anything screwed into aluminum should be Loctited. My personal feeling. I don't know about that bumper either. It looks kind of cheesy. I guess if it protects the, maybe sort of protects the bottom of the A block. That was one thing I broke a lot of, was aluminum A blocks. And it was from catching disc blades on the corners. We use disc blades, a lot of places do, to mark the corners. And it would actually slice them, I think, more than break them. If a disc blade happened to be up just a little bit, it would catch them. And these cars are so low, they don't take something sticking up very much to catch something on the front, especially when they're diving into a corner. And these front ends will drop as you slam on the brakes. Okay. It's interesting. Definitely a different way to build that front end. I guess we'll see if it holds up. can see already though that I probably better buy a few extra bumpers. I do not like a hard plastic front bumper. Okay, there's that gearbox bottom in place. We'll do that on the rear. And that will be it for today. I say I need to get out and get some stuff done outside. Maybe finish my mowing. If I got time. Need to get stuff sprayed though here first. Nice day to do that. Not supposed to rain for a couple days, so give a good chance for the weed spray to work. And I'm guessing this should be pretty much the same as how the back or the front one went together. Yeah, you see they go ahead and put the drive lines in it, but we're not doing that today. We're just putting the gearboxes in. That's the front. That's the front. There's the rear. Oh, we are going to need... No, we aren't going to need that brace. Yeah, it's looking like it's... built the same way. Yep. Looking the same, looking the same. Yep. We need the rear bumper. See, that broke off smooth, it did. And we're wanting a 0.5 one of these at an angle, which is 2 of these, 1/2 millimeter. And I think we're done with these for now. Actually, we're done with them forever. I'll throw them into the other bag. My spare parts bag. So that's all we'll need. this sits, it's down like that. We want these in and down. In and down. Should be like that. This would go in and down like that. So that's in 0.5, down 0.5 from center. So actually that'll do is give a little less toe in on the rear and actually add some what they call anti-squat to the rear of the car. Okay, we got two gearboxes here. +2, and it's the book says to use +2s. There's a +2, and the other is a 0, and it's changes the height of the gearbox by doing that. We aren't going to need the top cover, but yeah, you can see how the shock tower actually mounts to the gearbox in those 4 holes. So if you ever hit something hard and knock the shock tower loose, you just got to replace the top part of this gearbox. So that's much better than have to tear the whole car apart. So it's like 6 screws, you can pull it off. Okay, let's go ahead and slap this in place. Don't need the arms in there to do this. Oops. Getting some. Okay, Mike, good to hear. Surgery went good. Cool, bud. They kicked you out pretty quick then. Putting the bottom of the gearboxes in here, and then I will be done. I built the diffs earlier. So I got the diffs ready to go. Just not putting the diffs in yet. Wanted to get to here. So I got the arms, and I'm not losing the shims and on the arms. We'll do them another day, probably next week. Back live streaming sometime next week on this. Like I say, I got to get a few things before the car's going to be ready to go anyway, so I can get a chassis protector. I don't know if Associated's got one out yet or not. I seen ProTech, which is one of the brands, I actually saw it on Facebook today. They got theirs out for it. I mean, I could cut one, but much easier getting a pre-made one. You can change the tail pieces. They come with extra tail pieces. A lot of pain, yeah. Well, lay down, relax. I got, like I say, I probably got about another 20 minutes here, and I'm off of here, so at the max. I'm gonna go out and get some weeds sprayed, maybe finish mowing. Okay, we're ready to throw the rear stuff on. May not even be that long. Okay, get in there. There it goes. So one thing, those are offset a little bit so that D block stays in place pretty easily. Okay, that goes in there. And the two longer screws there. Actually, it isn't going to be that long. Putting the last two screws in right now for today. They don't say to put any thread lock on, but it's metal into metal, so I'm going to put a little. Get in there. There it goes. Okay, hand tighten them. Okay, well, that's where I wanted to be for today. A little bit more work to do that I could do. I could put the gearboxes in, or the diffs in. I will set the diffs where they need to go though, so I know they're front and rear. Since the diff oils are different. But anyway, I think we're done. I'll clean up here a little bit, put the screws away that I'll need next time. But anyway, I think we're going to get out of here, guys. I'm going to go out and spray some weeds, kill some weeds around here. Been getting rain, so the weeds are coming pretty good. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Mike, hope you feel better in the next day or two. But okay, we'll do back with part 3. Probably be next week sometime. So we'll see you guys Saturday night, my coin guys, probably at 7:30. So later on.